tell you what, folks, we'll go ahead and get started. Our attorney's on the way. I think the first few items we might be able to take care of without his guidance. So we'll call the meeting to order, and we'll have our pledge in a moment of prayer. And if you've got a phone, if you would, just check it. Do you ever so kind and check it for us, please, and just make it silent. We very much appreciate it. We'll go ahead and stand, okay? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Our precious Heavenly Father, we come to you tonight asking for your guidance, and Lord, we pray for wisdom and thoughtfulness as we go about our county's business. Lord, I thank you for all the many blessings that we continue to receive, both here in our county and across our nation. It's wonderful to be an American. It's even better to be a Madison County. Lord, I pray that you'll watch over those that need a special blessing and are in times of trouble. Lord, you know their needs. Be with us now and give us safe traveling mercies as we depart. In your precious name we pray. Amen. Amen. All right, our first order of business is to clean up some minutes. We've had 4 meetings that we need to approve the minutes. So the first two, and our clerk has been so kind as to kind of show who was at which one. So what I would suggest is for the July 2nd, these seem like low-hanging fruit, so we thought we'd go ahead and catch them. Sorry. That's all right. So for July 2nd and July 11th, if you had a chance to read those, and if anybody has comments or questions or whatever, we'll take a motion to approve those when you're ready. Motion to approve, Chair. Have a motion to approve.
Second.
And I have a second. Any comments or questions? And this was the regular business meeting in our first budget work session. Any comments or questions on those? Seeing none, vote is to Commissioner Allen to approve. Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. All right, very good. Yeah, next vote will be to approve the minutes from the second budget work session on the 18th of July. And Commissioner Strickland was absent. It's your prerogative to vote or to abstain. But when you're ready, I'll take a motion on that one as well.
Motion to approve, Chair.
Motion to approve.
Second.
And a second. Any questions or comments on July 18th minutes? All right, Commissioner Strickland?
Abstain.
Yes.
Abstain.
Yes. Yes. Okay. The last one is for July 20th. And Commissioner Pelto, you were absent on that. Your prerogative to vote or to abstain on that one. When we have read them, or if you're ready, I'll take a motion on those.
Motion to approve.
Second. I have a motion to approve and a second, July 20th. Any questions or comments on that? Commissioner Bettis?
Yes.
Abstain.
Yes. 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 All right. All right, folks, what we'll do now is we'll get into, we have our resident librarian here, Ms. Jennifer Ivey. If you would, please, ma'am, come on forward and share with us what's going on this month.
Thank you. This is actually my report from April through June, so, my quarterly report, yeah.
There you go.
Y'all all have a copy of that, and then the pink paper is the August calendar for upcoming events, so. Our adult programming highlights from last quarter, we have 52 programs with 331 adults in attendance. The biggest thing was the Friends General Meeting in April with author Victoria Wilcox. She writes historical fiction westerns, and we had about 50 people there that day. It's also opening day at the rec department, so parking is fun. And we've actually been lucky recently. A lot of authors have been wanting to have author events at the library, so we'll be watching for some more in upcoming months. We actually had one yesterday with Martha Jean, and then we have one in August, which is on your calendar. Youth programming, we had 88 programs with 2,771 in attendance. 40 or almost half of those are done as outreach. In the summer, we hit all the daycare centers in the county and to push summer reading with those kids. So we're finishing up this week, getting their prizes to them for those who finished the summer reading program. Our biggest draws for last quarter for kids was the Fancy Nancy Tea Party. It just gets bigger every year. There's a picture of that on the bottom of the second page from some kids in the selfie booth. I do a week of Money Smart Week programs in April to promote financial literacy for all ages. And then for our summer reading program, of course, we've had a big paid performer every Wednesday, and mostly paid. Some of them were free. But then we also had the digital media specialist from the Athens Library come out with a virtual reality headset twice, and that was a big draw for teens and older elementary school kids that don't always come to library programs, so that was good. A lot of our attendance of those were from the rec department. They had partnered with us this summer to send kids over, and we would have kids in the library almost all day long from the rec department, which was good. It was busy and it was loud, but it was good. And some of those kids had never been to the library before, and that was a good way to get them in there. And some of those kids brought their parents back to the library, and at least one got a library card, so that was a roaring success in my opinion. Staff changes on the next page. April Hitchcock-Watson resigned as technology specialist, and we have filled that position since then, but that person doesn't start till August, so that's an in-house through the Athens Regional Library System filling of that position. We have a new part-time person, Jillian Girardeau, is 16 hours a week as library assistant with us. Down at the bottom, we have, I always write down when people say nice things about the library, so the best one from last quarter was a Sunday patron appreciates that we have weekend hours. We do have people that can only come to the library on the weekends, and I hear that from people a lot, that they're glad that we're open every day. Upcoming events, you have the August calendar, so this Wednesday's the ice cream party. It's the last hurrah before school starts. Farm Bureau partners with us to do that each year. I think it's Thursday, August the 9th, is the volcano program with Dr. David Dahlmeyer, formerly of UGA Department of Geology. He's going to talk about Kilauea, which erupted recently in Hawaii, so he's got that going on. The unicorn party is for all ages, and it's been wildly popular. And then the author visit on the 26th. And then on the back, I just put some pictures in of our summer reading program. Pat Shields is in the top. He's a local storyteller. He came for free for us, and I appreciate that. And then Todd Key was a juggler and another kind of like a circus performer down there at the bottom, and there was a big crowd for that. So I put some pictures in there for y'all's enjoyment. Do y'all have any questions about library stuff or events or?
Is Mike teaching calligraphy on Sunday?
He is teaching calligraphy on Sundays. I believe that's the second.
August 12th.
Yeah, so the second Sunday each month. And those are free. And
Just once a month.
It's just once a month, and the supplies are provided. We actually used the last Vibrant Communities grant to have supplies for that, to keep going so people don't have to buy their own.
Super.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Jennifer. Thanks for coming. All right, Chairman, we've got a couple of items here. I think each of you have in a packet, we have a gentleman that's requesting that the board approve to execute a release of bond for Watson Drive and Watson Manor subdivision. And the dates and the information are in this, and as I understand it, I'll leave it to the county attorney to explain. This was in place back in 2010, and as far as I know, that activity's closed out. Our road superintendent did actually travel out there at our request to make sure everything was in order, nothing needed any improvements or repairs. So is there anything that like that?
I'll just add that, you know, our subdivision ordinance really only requires the bond for 1 year unless there's some problem that appears during that 1 year, which didn't happen in this case. Apparently, this developer's bonding company wrote it to renew every year, so he's trying to get that canceled and maybe get a little money back, so that's why it's coming to you to approve this.
So this is relatively long overdue, not within the norm?
Exactly.
Okay. So what we're looking for then is a motion in this case to approve executing release of fund for Watson Drive and Watson Manor subdivision.
Motion approved.
I have a motion to approve
Second.
and a second. Does anybody have any question or comment on that? None. All right, Commissioner Bethel.
Yes. 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 Yes.
Yes.
Okay, and each of you should also have a copy of the 2019 proposed budget. And I wanted to make a comment here that when we last met, you know, we had talked about a number of things, and I guess what I wanted to really highlight, this is just a proposal, and it's subject to public comment through public hearing, and certainly for any commissioners to make final comments or adjustments on. Our last session, there were 4 or 5 items that were discussed, and we were looking for perhaps an amount to put toward that for consideration. And I have done that, and I can either list them here, or if you'd like, following the meeting, I can highlight or point to where those 4 or 5 items are in the exact line item in this, if that would make it any clearer. So
You don't have a number on last year's budget, do you?
last year's, the budget itself, I believe, was somewhere, I'm gonna say 16,144 and change. I'm pretty sure it was close to that. 16,144. And this proposed, and of course, we haven't gotten to that point yet where we're talking millage, but, the proposed here is 16,700, and of course that first or second page shows a projected revenue line as well, so that would give you an idea of revenues versus the proposed expenditures. And again, this is assuming all of those items in this proposal. I believe a couple of those that we discussed the other day will go down. But, and again, we'll have a chance to go through this next Monday, as a matter of fact, at 5:30. And I encourage, if anybody's got any questions, I'd be happy, you know, during the week or the finance officer and myself who've gone through this and have worked through this pretty extensively with the departments. We're more than willing and certainly available to talk about anything, explanations or whatever, so. But I just wanted to make you aware that here's a kind of an updated copy from our last meeting with those additional items included. And there was one item, let me back up, there was one item that was discussed with the departments, but it wasn't actually considered, but there had been a discussion in I believe our coroner brought it up, but it applied to both the coroners and the EMS budgets, and it was the notion of these power structures. The purpose and the trying to eliminate claims and things like that, and it's not so much claims, I shouldn't put it that way, it's a means of reducing the opportunity for workers' comp and things like that, injuries, these claims that arise from injuries. And so we have a number that is built in here under a capital outlay, and it's called equipment, and it includes $24,000, which is just a little over the cost of one power structure. However, this represents, a purchase price of 2, and over the course of 3 years, we have a vendor, which is through Stryker, the manufacturer, that has been willing, has made an offer to sell. These are used, but they're subject to our approval, and they have a 2-year warranty. So there's a cost of about $24,000 for 3 years, and you'll see that under capital outlay and equipment. That was the only item that was added that had not been discussed as part of this. But, and again, it's just to show you with the inclusion of that, what the total budget would be. And I just wanted to have that there so you could consider that.
Isn't that a, no interest loan as well?
It is, there's no interest for 3 years. We can pay it monthly, quarterly, annual. And, again, 2-year warranty, and it is the manufacturer's brand. It's not an off-brand, it is a widely used, probably one of the largest, brands out there.
And new members are mandated to have those power structures,
Right.
correct?
They will all be required to accommodate power structures, so.
We got, that really was big. You're talking about the 750-pound cedar man.
Right.
And how
These particular stretchers have a 700-pound capacity, so that was a little bit up from the 600-pound that we had looked at before too, so.
Okay.
All right, again, just by way of a chairman's report, I wanted to let you know that was, you have a copy of that budget with you though. All right. Statements and remarks. If there's anybody here tonight that would, like to comment on, we have several items. We're going to be discussing a nuisance abatement ordinance and potentially going out for a request for qualification for utility solutions, and I'll explain that when we get to it, but it's an opportunity. If anybody has a comment or remark they'd like to make on those items, we'll entertain that if you'd like.
Chairman Scarborough, my name is Daniel Cook, and as you put in the prayer there, I'm blessed because I live in Madison County. But I'm here as part of, my wife has been having some discussions with Commissioner Allen in regard to the nuisance issues that we're going over. And myself personally, I moved to Madison County because I wanted to live in a rural area. Me and my wife have lived here for 12 years now. But we like it so much, not only the property we moved into, we bought the property next door to it, and now our daughter lives in the property next to that. So we love Madison County. And I lived in Gwinnett County for over 25 years, and if anybody's seen the growth through there, it went from a rural area to where, God, I hate being there. I mean, it's tough.
Can I ask what your address is?
55 Turtle Creek.
Turtle Creek. Okay, very good.
And we just, the whole thing of us moving here was to find an area that used to be like where we used to live, to where everybody has their little skeletons in the closet. But, I get to where I have such a problem. We've had a lot of issues with some of the neighbors and the properties around us. Some of them are just plain abandoned. And, they're unsightly, they're dangerous. I have grandchildren now. I'm just worried about somebody getting hurt. Plus, now we have a joke amongst my family that come to visit that they actually identify my corner neighbor as the scrap yard that I live next to. And that's terrible when you look at that, when you're ashamed to have people come and visit your house and you try to take care of things, and it's just getting worse. If I wanted to live next to Allowines, if anybody's familiar with that, I would have bought property there, and it's just, people don't care anymore, and right now we're at the time of the year where everything's grown up, kudzu. I'm not so ashamed of my neighbors. I can't see anything. Soon as fall comes, you're going to see all these old abandoned cars, scrap wash machines. It's just a nuisance, is an understatement. And everybody's seen the show Hoarders. I don't care what you do if you keep it behind your house. We all have something. I mean, I know plenty of people around here that has a nice collection of old cars. It's their treasures, not mine, but they're out in the woods in the backyard. But when you gotta drive down, and we moved intentionally, we wanted a dead-end road or a cul-de-sac. Just because we knew we weren't gonna have a large flow of traffic, it's just gonna be the neighbors. We have 8 houses on our road, and 3 of them are just very, very bad shape, and I don't know what we can do for the county as far as, I don't want people to live like they do in covenants and subdivisions. I want to be able to hang my American flag out front and not have trouble, but when it comes down to, I don't want to pick on my neighbors and police, but I've actually had people come last fall and ask, because they thought the property on the corner was actually mine, if I wanted help with hauling some of the scrap off for a fee. And I said, no, actually people live there. And I don't know when they live there. That's the other nuisance. I never know who's coming in and out. They've had many, citations against them for everything from needing to clean up to actually tying into the power line themselves so they can run power to their home. I mean, it's just a lot of dangerous things, and I've seen it happen in Gwinnett County and other counties to where you let a little bit go, and it just keeps increasing to where it's going to be, I wouldn't tell you guys the truth, ladies, I would not have moved to where I moved if I knew it was going to happen like that in a short time, and it's sad. It's someplace I want my kids to grow up and love. And I looked at all the demographics here with this school. The girls had a great shooting team. I mean, everything about this county was awesome. I drove 75 miles every day to work in Atlanta just so I could live here because I thought this was the ideal place. And it just gets to where I'm wondering if I made a good decision or not. I just hope that we come up with something, and I don't want to be the lawn police or anything like that, but I think that, and y'all see it, everybody has one somewhere on their road where they drive by and say, why don't they do something with that water machine on their porch? Or now I think 2 people live across from me. It used to be heavily wooded. One lady lived there. Every time you seen her was when she walked her dog. Now I think there's 2 people that live there. They got 7 vehicles, and 5 of them I haven't seen move for over a year. And they're only a little yard as big as this room here. It's just ridiculous, so hopefully something comes up, especially I know Mr. Allen has really tried to pursue some things to help us out here, but I just wanted to come forth to let y'all know that I think we need to do something, I hope. Thank y'all.
Thank you, Mr. Christopher. Is there anybody else that would like to say anything about those 2 items on our agenda tonight? All right, well then we'll move into the discussion on that item. We have this under old business because we brought this up once before and entertained the notion of putting pen to paper, and what was presented as a template, something we looked at was, there are counties around us that have varying degrees of a plan or an ordinance that addresses whether it be a health or safety. Sometimes it's hard to, as you mentioned, it's hard to legislate appearance, but there are certain things that we all, I think, would probably agree that we would like to see. So on that note, the item that we have for consideration is approving a nuisance abatement ordinance, and each commissioner should have a copy. This is a draft that was put together, and again, it is still very editable, not to be confused with editable, but feel free, these are ideas, and most humans, most Americans, we like to edit as opposed to create, so I would share with you, this is certainly, I would say a good product. Is it complete? Well, you'll have to tell me, because there may be differing ideas with some of the things in here, and so
You want me to just discuss a little bit more for motion first?
If it may be appropriate. Normally we take a motion and a second to move into discussion. Since you and kind of initiated, brought it up, if you'd like to explain, something.
basically what we have in the county is anywhere from unsightly stuff to dangerous stuff like Mr. Cook was talking about. And going and talking to David Patton, code enforcement, sheriff's department, that kind of stuff. This is basically where the direction we need to go, to give them some teeth to actually make changes that they can make. As you heard Mr. Cook talk, he's not the only one that has a problem, but there's been plenty of citations written, things like that, and it's just not enough to get these people attention. One of the places I pass every day, they have the money to pay the citation, so they pay the citation just going about their business. Mike, thank you so much. Mike wrote us up a draft here for nuisance abatement. I believe he started kind of piecing stuff together and said, you know what, I'm just going to write this thing anew, and I think he's done a great job. I think this is something we can get going, work with, and, you know, as anything, we can always go back and add to it if we see something that we need to do more. But like I said, I didn't want, and I know Commissioner Bettis has worked hard on it with me too. We didn't want something that would be punitive. We didn't want something that would be too much. We didn't want to be Athens Clarke County. We didn't want to be Oconee County. We wanted to be Madison County because we are best. And we wanted to make sure that we did our ordinance. And I think Mike's given us a really good ordinance here. So I would, to be quite honest, I'd just like to make a motion that we approve the nuisance abatement ordinance as written. If that's a motion that you can have.
I have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second. I like it, it just, you know, it's simple, it's plain, well, and you wrote it in the way, it says contains only provisions required by state law. That's where we need to start. We've got to do something, and then if we need to work from there and go forth, then we can, but this is, I really like how you wrote this, and,
I'm glad
the building inspector.
I'm glad Judge Patton was in here that day at the budget and mentioned, you know, hey, I love you guys doing this, this is what we need. Jack Up was behind it, the code enforcement, you know, I'm pleased with the direction.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, and we're already in the discussion mode. Is there any?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I have a few questions.
Yes, sir.
You know, I take pride in my place, and it bothers me if I see thistle in the pasture or something going on the fence line or whatever, but that's me. I have a little bit of an issue with this because I feel like it's overreach. But I just have some points I want to just ask. And it's one of the questions. This is the wrong sentence here. Whenever a request is filed with a public officer by a public authority or by at least 5 residents of the unincorporated area of Madison County, charging that a dwelling, building, structure, or property is unfit for human habitation or for commercial, industrial, or business use and not in compliance with applicable codes, is vacant and being used in connection with the commission of drug crimes or constitutes an endangerment to the public health or safety as a result of unsanitary or safe conditions, the public officer shall make an investigation or inspection to specific dwelling, building, structure, property. Does this include agricultural buildings, or does it preclude?
There's no exclusion for agricultural buildings. I mean, so obviously there's a different standard there, but for commercial, industrial, or business use, I think in this context, if there's an agricultural building that's falling down that would be unsafe for people to go into, yeah, that would be within the scope of what this could address.
Okay. Currently, agricultural buildings don't fall under any kind of codes in the county for building codes. So I'm just kind of, that's just a little bit of a question for me there. And 2, if it is an older home, and there is an issue there, and you've got elderly people or people that are on low income people, and it says that the house has to be fully, I think it says in here, that it has to be fully brought up to code. Now, what would that, I mean, are they going to have to as far as code, that if you've got a 100-year-old house, I mean, obviously it's not built to code, so how far does that go?
And that's really a sort of an Eddie Pritchett question. My understanding, it's the building inspector question. My understanding of how that works is if you do a certain amount of work, you have to bring everything up to code, and I don't know where that dividing line is.
Okay.
If you have something that's in this bad, I mean, this is directed to extreme situations. And if something's that extreme, then yeah, probably it's gonna cross that threshold.
Okay. And if they do fall into this, if they do have 5 residents come to speak against their property, this could be enemies, this could be whatever, I'm just saying. Someone shall notify the interested parties that a hearing will be held before court of competent jurisdiction as determined. They don't get a warning, they go straight to court.
Well, so first, there's an intervening step there. First, if 5 people come forward, then the public officer, which we've got in here to be the building inspector, if there's a more appropriate person to do that, it could be whomever you appoint. That person goes out and makes an inspection. Only if that person determines that one of those 3 conditions you read there applies, unfit for habitation, vacant and being used for drug crimes, or 3, an endangerment to public health or safety, if the public officer determines that's been met, that's when the hearing notice goes out.
Okay. It says, if the repair, alteration, or improvement of the said dwelling, building, or structure in order to bring it into full compliance with applicable codes relevant to the cited violations cannot be made at a reasonable cost in relation to the present value of the dwelling, building, or structure, requiring the owner, within the time specified in the order, to demolish, remove such dwelling or structure and all debris from the property. What if that dwelling is their home? Where do they go, and who pays his expenses at the house them at that point in time?
Well, and there again, so you're looking at if it's their home, you're looking at something that's been declared unfit for human habitation. So
So you're really hurting them? That's what I guess,
Well, if they're homeless, you're hurting them. I mean, this is,
You know what I'm saying? You're talking about a lot of
it's their house. That's what I'm saying. The owner fails to comply with an order to repair or demolish the dwelling, the building or structure, the public officer may cause such dwelling, building, or structure to be repaired, altered, or improved, or be vacated, closed, or demolished. This is a lot of power given one person. And then also, in the demolishing, anything that they salvage from there is put up for sale, so without having to be advertised. I just...
Go drive down Garnet Ward and live across there for 20 years.
Well, I understand that. I'm just in my opinion. I don't really know.
I know, I'm giving my opinion.
Just to the point that you're giving one person a lot of power. You're not giving one person a lot of power. You're giving that person, he's gonna do his job. He's gonna say what the property is or isn't, and then it's gonna go to a judge.
Right.
And you're gonna have, this isn't some, residents down the road get mad at somebody and come in and say, hey, you need to go do something. And
Okay, I'm just going through it.
Well, I'm answering your question.
I'm proud of you for doing that.
Yeah, and I'm answering your question. I'm glad you're looking at it. I'm glad you read it.
Okay, on here, too, and I'm just asking questions now, y'all don't get upset about this. This is not upset. It's murder.
Without getting upset.
That's right. I'm okay with that.
We're discussing.
That's right.
This Bureau of Information I'm living, right.
All right. Now, the six reasons or requirements for determining unfitness is defects that are increasing the hazard of fire, accidents, or calamities. I mean, my house is made out of hard pine. That's a fire hazard for sure. Lack of adequate ventilation, is that if they have central heat and air, or if there's, I don't know. Lack of light, sanitary facilities, dilapidation, disrepair, structural defects, uncleanliness. Where do you go and where does it stop? And I'm saying, we're talking about the flag flying, where does the overreach stop? And 2, things that were built prior to us having any kind of building code, there should never be an opportunity for somebody, and I'm not talking about our building inspector. We gotta think about 20 years down the road. We gotta think about past our lifetime, past our current building inspectors, working life. I mean, this could be on down the road. You're giving somebody a lot of overreach. And what if somebody wants to take 3 houses out and build a subdivision, and they could come in here and make it work for them? I'm just saying, you know, I got a newborn at my house. Do I have to bring it up to code before it goes? The county owns multiple structures that should be torn down according to this, because we've not kept it up. One being a 250-year-old stripper house over there at the rec department. I mean, we're very guilty. We should tear down our courthouse if it were. I'm glad it's in the city of Davisville, because it is an endangerment.
I don't agree with that either.
I don't agree with that either. I'm just saying, if we're gonna go by these standards, we should.
Well, and that's what we got in there, standards. What would you change?
Well, I'm just saying, I wouldn't do it at all. I can't stomach it. I just think goes too far, because it opens up the door for more and more and more. And the reason we don't have these things, and that's why it keeps it country, and that's why y'all moved out here, the more we add, the more it's like Gwinnett County. The less
An
it is.
example that unfit for habitation is directly across from us on Duncan Swim.
Maybe something very specific.
Yeah, it's a 2-story built-on trailer that the people lost years ago, and
I understand.
it's just terrible.
If it's not occupied, if it's not owner occupied, tear it down. I'm good with that. But if you've got some poor person, and I know what
I see what you're getting at. You're looking at.
I'm looking at people can't do it better. And it says also in here that, let's see, when it goes to court, that, and Mike, I'm not trying to tell you your part. No, I'm with, we're not here, it's by state law, so.
Provisions required by state law.
Okay.
I mean, this is nothing,
Well,
pulling things out of the air.
Now, all this is not state law, it's just part of it.
It's part of state law, and there's other defaults that aren't required to be applied. And let me say too, those 6 conditions you just read, the state law says such conditions may include the following, and those 6, and that's straight out of it, but obviously the state law uses the word may. You can add to those, you can subtract from those, so.
Okay, I can't find what I was looking for here, but one thing, it says here that it'll be paid for by putting a lien against the real property. Is that the only way we can get our money back?
That's what, yeah.
Okay, because we're gonna go broke, because there's 100 places in this county, and if we just put a lien against it, we gotta wait for them not to pay their taxes or die.
I would.
So we're gonna be out there,
I just think
if we take one man, and we clean up one, we're gonna clean up 100, or we're gonna hear about it, and how we gonna pay for it? We can't pay our bills now.
We can't, just because we hear about something, doesn't mean it's not gonna happen. You know what I'm saying?
I'm just saying.
Our bill's pretty good this year.
Well, I'm just saying, it's tight, I'm not saying we're getting heavy.
And the reserve's gone, and we can talk about that too.
Well, I volunteer for the after the Lockheed's building down, and I'm going to.
Now, in a situation where it's owner occupied, they just don't care about you and your property, I'm all for that. I'm just worried about where somebody's living there and they can't afford to do any better.
I think this goes to where all other things have been exhausted. You know what I'm saying? You're talking about things that we've already been.
But we got to get specific, or we're gonna leave we're really wide open for much worse things.
So you'd be okay with if we got more space?
Well, yes, I would. Yes.
Well, that's gonna be my question. So obviously the reason we're talking about it tonight is because there was interest in bringing this back up. But, it sounds to me like we might not be where we need to be in perhaps some of the language. This, again, was a draft, it was a starting spot.
Yeah, and I would make some suggestions.
And it has some references to state, so you can see, and we can go back and investigate what should stay in. Again, I'm not 100% sure there's any real fault in doing anything that upholds or protects safety and health. But, beyond that, how do you articulate what the requirements are going to be and who's going to pay and everything? There is a valid point, at least with respect to the timeliness of this. Nothing will happen quickly on this. I'm not saying that to say you shouldn't do it. I'm just saying, just so everybody's aware. But this thing runs its course, and it will take, you know, it's not, it's most likely not even months, but it could be, you know, into a year or 2 years.
Well, this could be any old barn in Madison County, this could be Barnes Academy, this could be something historical, I'm just.
But that can be remedied with language if that's what you choose, if that's what you.
And I would love to, I'd like some solutions to the
Yeah.
problem
Yeah.
with it too.
I mean, he sent this to us July 6th, and to hear this now, I mean, this is why he asked, can, you know, let me know. I mean, and I think we need to give him that courtesy. If, you know, instead of all right here, you know, we can take care of things ahead of time.
Another thing too is the surrounding counties have it, and we've had people move into our county because they've been kicked out of other counties and come over here because we don't have a nuisance abatement. They know what they can get away with.
This is.
So you're talking about protecting,
Okay, I know, I'm just saying.
if you're protecting, you know, the county, I think that you gotta look at it both ways too. Because people are coming in, I know it for a fact.
Listen, I teach kids in this county, I know this moving in, so transient these days, that's right.
But, you know, if there is some additions, subtractions you'd like to put to that, you know, I just, like Commissioner Bennett said, you know, I would have loved to have something that we could have looked at.
And that's my fault, I should have come up before tonight, I've been in and out of town every week.
Yeah, we all have.
For the past, and this is July. I mean,
Stop,
it's just-
stop right there, I don't even wanna hear it, thanks.
Okay, so let's see what we can salvage here. I'm in the salvage business, that's these days anyhow, so how about this? Unless there's no interest at all in revisiting this, would you entertain a motion or a substitute motion to postpone it and try to put language to it if it's worth coming back and talking about it?
It's worth it, I gotta get something,
Okay.
we gotta do something.
And I only say that so that, there's no crime in trying to make it a better product. And, I would suggest that the discussion here tonight proves that, there is such a thing as, perhaps a synergistic effect. You can write that down, Ron.
I have to look it up.
So, if that, no, I'm just saying, I'm not trying to go one way or the other on this, I'm just saying if you wanna, if we're not getting anywhere, or if there's interest in revisiting it, perhaps if you, would wanna come back and do that, you can make a motion to,
Yeah, I'll make that motion. Oh, do I need to take another one away?
substitute motion.
Substitute motion.
Is that,
Motion to postpone to a certain date, or just?
I think postpone just means you move it past
Yeah,
this
we're
meeting.
Yeah, we're supposed to.
So,
Second.
sufficient. Okay, now is there any comment or discussion on that? Would anybody care to comment on?
Just make sure we get those solutions to problems in the ordinance, please.
All right,
Timely fashion.
yeah, so,
We can get moving on it as quick as possible, or at least know what we're gonna have to tell the judge and the other folks we're gonna have to do. All right.
Let me kind of facts if I'm not sure. I've been watching this thing now for 7.5 years. Well, I watched it before that from the front row. We got so many things that we enforce and we don't enforce. There's selective enforcement in this county. It's been going on all beyond me. I've been over in this building. And if this is put into play, it's gonna be that again. Some people gonna get enforced, some people not. That's as simple as that. And y'all know that we don't enforce everything that's on them books.
And let me just jump in, I was not taking notes while you were talking, so, yeah. But I just say, board is, if you want me to take a stab at revising this, if you want to do it yourselves, or, you know, whatever, I mean, I'll be glad to incorporate any comments anybody wants to send me.
I'll see you later.
Okay.
Should've seen it before tonight, I should've.
and to Commissioner Eastco's point, you know, we have seen that. I understand there are a number of things, and it is frustrating. It's not just at county level, folks, it's at state and it's at the federal level. We all see that. My only caution there is sometimes, you know, even though that may be the outcome, I think sometimes you can't throw up your hands and say you don't care and you don't want to do something about it. So I think even if, what I would encourage, if we're gonna have a reattack on this thing, though, I would encourage, you know, to have our sheriff and representation there to allow, for that reason, to make sure if he's, you know, if there's concerns about enforcement, I'd like to hear from him before it's, you know, and that's not a challenge to him, I'm just saying, it's necessary that, that we consider the magistrate judge, and we consider other people's input or whatever. I certainly would like to, give him the opportunity, and I'm not saying he's been left out of this discussion, I'm just saying I would like to make sure if we are gonna come back and revisit it, that we have, their position when we go into it, and that way you know what kind of support you're gonna get up front. And if you don't get it, then, again,
If you want to talk to them, like I said, they've been very supportive, helped me with this, so, they're open to discussion if anybody has any questions.
All right, so we have a substitute motion to postpone in a second. Is there any further comment or discussion on this item? So the motion is to postpone, and the vote goes to Commissioner Easkill to postpone.
Just postpone.
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 Yes.
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 Okay. Very good.
And I think Commissioner Allen has implicitly withdrawn his original motion.
Yeah, that's
Still around, that'd be a little loud.
Okay. All right. New business, consider going out for a request for qualification bid for utility solution. All right. Let me take some explanation on my part. Some of you may already be familiar with where this is. Let's see, I made a copy of it. There we are. Each year, and I've got limited experience with the county in this, but for 2 years now, when we look at each department and many of the expenses that figure into our budget, a lot of times, we look at utilities and we look at what we paid last year and we just budget that amount and we say, okay, we're covered. Many of you have lived through perhaps older appliances or an older car and things like that. You find at some point you're spending more money trying to maintain or to operate those. And there comes a point, especially with utilities, where there may be merit in kind of taking a very holistic, just an overarching view of those things, and then proportionally, your utilities in this county are very pertinent. They're very expensive. And I'm talking electricity, gas, water. There are a number of things that we need to look at. So all I'm asking and all I'm suggesting is, and there are multiple vendors, multiple organizations that provide this type of service, and they're energy service companies. Madison County School System subscribed to this a few years back and went with a company, and it's not important who they are, doesn't have to be them, I'm just talking about they went with a company that went in and did an overall assessment of their heating and air. They actually did their some of their vehicle maintenance, they've done their custodial, they've done everything from light bulbs to light switches to appliances in their cafeteria, everything. And I have it from both Dr. McKinnon and Dr. Williams, outgoing and current superintendents, that they've been very, very successful in lowering the cost through those improvements. This is attained, and I'm, so that I don't butcher this, I would like to just share with you how they do this, and it's a very short explanation. But basically what they do, if we're interested in contracting for a full range of service, some of the services could include a complete energy and engineering study of selected buildings. That could include this building, it could include the jail. The jail typically is one of your larger powers. It's 24 hours. They have requirements above and beyond most other buildings. Certainly, any facility, they would look at the design and installation of new heating and air, lighting, controls, and other energy conservation systems, systems that meet all state and local codes, other cost-saving measures, ongoing auditing, support of energy conservation measures, monitoring of energy costs, and and financing of the project. So, improvements must result in a guaranteed minimum savings. These businesses have carved out a niche being able to provide a service that guarantees that what you're paying now and what you will pay over the next 10 years, should everything remain constant, they take that cost and they say, we think we can save you money out of that, and what we save, we want a portion of it. That's how they want to operate. So, these energy, I gotta go back to what the BOC stands. The energy service companies will be required to provide financing options for the program. So if you go out and buy heating and air and lighting and everything, there's a cost up front, or there's a cost associated with that. The program has a certain term limit. You can run it 10, it cannot run any longer than 15 years. We, the customer or the owner, are required to pay no upfront costs, meaning no capital dollars are required. The savings can be reached through the reduced energy cost, reduction in maintenance costs due to new systems, the reduction in cost of outside contracts and services due to the new systems, and then other real tangible and measurable savings that result from that. So bottom line is, the notion is we pay maintenance every year for heating and air systems as one of those. Last year we replaced a 28-year-old unit at our extension office at a cost of $15,000. Didn't plan on that. We just had to come up with it. It was not budgeted for. So that's $15,000 the county paid. We're fortunate and got that done. This year we said, okay, and the board voted beginning for this 2018 year budget to set aside at least $15,000. Now, that was one unit on one building. We set aside $15,000 because sitting right next to the unit that we replaced is a 29-year-old unit today. It's the sister unit to that building. So my point is that if there's a way to go back and look at all of these and evaluate them, knowing that we're going to pay for it, whether it's planned or not, it's much easier from a planning standpoint to look out a level cost or a fixed cost over the next 10 years so that you know how to budget for that, and you know that it's going to cost less than what you're paying now and are protected to pay over the next 10 years. There's no commitment when you go out for a request for qualifications. It's just like going out for a bid. So there's no action required on the county's part, but to at least start the process and to figure out if there's any to be saved. That's what this is for tonight, is to consider. I have a very generic, there's no name, no business attached to it, and it doesn't preclude any, and I'm not even saying it has to be this one, but for anybody, anybody that would like to look at it or a copy, we can provide that. It's about a 10-page document, and it's like any other proposal that we would request. So with that, I'm just asking for consideration to be able to go out for an RFQ, request for qualification for utility solutions.
Motion to approve.
I have a motion to approve that.
You got it for me?
Second.
And a second. Does anybody, are there any reservations or any, at least with going out to get the information, anybody have any reservations about doing that? Any other comments and questions?
I've seen it in action.
One of the school districts we represent has done this 2 or 3 times. And actually, there's no commitment at the next level either. If you do select one of the people who submit to this to do an energy audit, then they come back and that's when they'll do the audit, make the proposal, and then you work with them to select the items you want to do, and only at that point do you make the commitment.
So we have a motion and a second to approve going out for RFQ. Any other comments or concerns or questions? All right, Commissioner Allen?
Yes.
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 All right, roads update.
y'all doing on paving?
They just got, I'll think of the name of it, they got Ed Coyle. Last time I read Ed Coyle last week, they had, that primary circuit put down on it, the first one. They also did Stillo, Kelly, and Hunt, which one?
Shallow Peel or whatever it is.
Oh, they did, Pokey.
Nice Peel.
Yeah, Pokey's done, Irvin Kirk's done, Clements, and, Ed Coyle, still Kelly Hunt. They've still got Valley, Erastus Church, and Beck to go.
Have you heard anything from DOT on Joan Chapel Shaw?
Yes, sir. Alan and I met, they are looking to start work in late August, early September on actually widening and then restriping.
Have you heard the total cost of that?
I know when we asked for it, they estimated the cost when they went out for bid with Pittman Bowles, I believe the company. Anyway, and I think that was a cost of about $302,000 for that project. So that was part of the off-system safety grant. So that was kind of it was fortunate. We had what road? I'm sorry, washed out. Coley Davis washed out last night for that rain. So
4 1/4 inches on Booger Hill Road, so that's what they got.
Yeah, it's off the Booger Hill. So and so we're still we're replacing one and then another one goes out. So it's a lot of rain, and a lot of these have been in the ground a while. And the problem with Coley Davis is that the very bottom of that pipe had rusted. And then when the with these rains over the past few weeks, maybe the past month or so, have really dislodged the footing around that, and that, and then the pavement went with it, unfortunately.
Has Alan found the pipe for cheap for you? I know he was looking for a bigger pipe.
He was looking, and I think based on what Phil Monroe went out and did a basin study on that. And I think he's down to trying to figure out through an engineering solution what can he do or what must he have to do. If it gets much bigger than a 6-foot or 7-foot pipe, again, it might work, but it may be where they need to look at some sort of box culvert.
Maybe a box culvert.
Costs more, but again, you got to stay there with that water flow. So that's a lot of volume. Cheap William has a lot of flow. So
I think it was an 8-foot pipe put in the St. Bruce Bridge. There, right again, Mike can tell you.
It might be
something about that.
Yeah.
Hills Creek there too.
Yeah. I do know that they got Chandler Farm Road. They finished with the second pipe over there, right?
I got some calls about it, and I've talked to Alan about all my Chandler.
We took several calls, now just to give you this real quick, for folks, potholes and things of this nature. Frankfurt was the latest one. We're hoping that equipment that was purchased was shipped last week, and we were told to look for it at the beginning of this week. So as soon as we get that, we will have a better solution for being able to properly prepare and service some of those the wider cracks and the potholes that we have until we're able to resurface. Okay.
I told them about Piedmont Park.
I saw that one too, yeah.
Okay.
Piedmont Park, yeah. All right. Okay, any other roads I'm taking? Urgent matters? No. Statements and remarks from citizens. So folks, if anybody has anything that they'd like to present to the board, now's your shot. Good? All right. Executive session. You have a need for executive session this evening?
Yes, sir. I think there's a need to go into executive session to discuss acquisition or sale of real estate.
Okay, do I have a motion to go into
executive session for the discussion, acquisition, and a motion and a second. Any discussion? Commissioner Strickland?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
All right, folks. We'll be back after this.
Thank you.
All right, we'll go ahead. Reopen this meeting, was that 7:18 or whatever it is? First order of business is to approve the minutes of the executive session. Motion to approve. Motion to approve.
Second.
And a second. Any comments or discussion on that? Commissioner Howell?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, that's done. All right, now the next step would be to vote on approving, help me with wording here. Again, is it the contract for purchase and sale, you want to name the parties or just? I don't, can I just reference the, that's fine, as long as Rhonda has it in the minutes, we'll just go with contract for purchase and sale.
Okay.
Everybody has.
Where is that, man?
Yeah. Well, it's like Mike said, if he knows that he can.
Well, she'll actually have a copy of this with minutes, so people
So-
can see what you approved.
Right. So we have a motion, no, we'll consider a motion to approve the contract for purchase and sale.
Motion, what you say?
Okay, I have that.
Second.
And a second. Are there any questions or comments on that?
Would it be, contract for purchase and sale that was discussed in executive session?
That'd be fine. Okay. Which will be
Reference.
very evident when they look at.
Actually, I don't know if I would reference executive session, because that would call somebody to say, well, let me see your minutes of your executive session.
Okay.
For the purchase of the
contract
William
for
D.
purchase and
Russell.
sale.
Well, you can say contract for purchase and sale of property, at the east end of Office Drive.
There you go.
Y'all get my motion right now?
Okay. So I have a motion from Commissioner Eastco to approve signing the purchase and sale agreement for the property at the end of, east end of Office Drive. Is there a second? Tripp seconded. Tripp, already second. Any comments or question on that then? Commissioner Strickland?
Yes.
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 I thought you had a second thought on that. All right, anything else, Sean? Motion to adjourn?
Vote to adjourn.
Yeah.
Second.
Second, Commissioner Bettis?
Yes.
Yeah, so whatever everybody's yes.
Yes.
Yes. All right. We're adjourned.